Well, I shouldn't catch any flack for this, but I'm about to make a comment about a specific political leader's son. The guy who was vice president, who's now running for president, who was in Congress for 47 years and didn't even write a bill. And his son Hunter, apparently he paid a bunch of money for Hunter to do business in the Ukraine, and all Hunter did was party. And apparently he's hooked on crack, and he has both given bribes and taken bribes, but he has not done an ounce of work himself. Now, the only reason that I'm bringing this up is because Hunter Biden is the profile of the kind of man that I've been talking about for the last 5 years. He's the kind of guy that never actually proactively moved out of his parents' basement. He probably had a girlfriend and perhaps maybe even was married and lived in the basement of his parents. And the Bidens made sure he was taken care of, fed him, clothed him, all the way up until he was in his 30s, until they said, okay, we've had enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you to Ukraine and you're going to work for us. Well, it gets him out of the house anyway. So what does he do? He goes to the Ukraine and he does exactly the same thing he did at home. It's almost as if nothing had changed. And he's still calling mom and dad for money, for support. And then when the news headlines hit, after they've been covered up for several years, Hunter Biden has been exposed in the greatest Ukrainian scam in history, and it has to do with his father bribing the Ukrainians or blackmailing them by refusing to send them aid, which wasn't his call anyway. President Trump would not have withheld aid from the Ukraine because of Hunter Biden. Ukraine is an ally of the United States. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that Trump would not have denied any kind of funding to the Ukrainians, because they are trying to be a nation state and they are opposed to Russia. Okay, so we need the Ukraine as an ally. But Biden went on an envoy to go talk to the Ukrainian president and made the threat that they weren't going to get a specific allocation of money unless they stopped the investigation on Hunter Biden. And he put it on video, on YouTube video, in the middle of an interview. He was not ashamed about it. He came right out and said it. Okay? And so I guess the point that I'm trying to get across, parents, is if you don't want your kid, your men, first of all, I'll get to the women later. If you don't want your men to grow up like that, you've got to discipline them early. You've got to make them understand that there are consequences for disobeying the rules in the household. And hopefully, what you're doing in the household is you're teaching them the law and social graces. Okay? And then when they get out at the age of 18, they'll be working, they'll be well behaved, and they'll be contributing members of society. They'll be working. Hopefully, they'll get married and they'll have kids of their own, and they'll be able to support their kids and their wife on their own. All right. As for the young girls, okay, when you guys have children and you raise your girls, okay, those girls have got to understand that they are under the protection of the household and of the parents. The boys can have a little bit more freedom because they're tougher, and hopefully you're going to be teaching them to defend themselves and what eventually would be their wives. But that starts actually at home when the sons or the brother, the big brother, starts protecting his sister. And the sister has got to understand that she has to be kept in close, and she has to be watched, and she has to be protected from predators. And then hopefully the father will do that job, and he will be the example to her of what a husband would be like if she were to choose one. Because guess what, folks? Children make choices for their spouses that most closely mirror what their parents are like. Dad, if you're a crack smoking Mad Dog 2020 addict, your daughter is going to find a husband who's a crack smoking Mad Dog 2020 addict. Okay? That's the way nature is. You're her example of a husband. So that's exactly what she's going to find. Mom, if you're a pot smoking alcoholic and you're an adulteress, guess what your son's going to be looking for in a wife? A pot smoking alcoholic who's an adulteress. Okay? That's the way it is. If your example to your son of a wife is that's what he's going to get. That's what he's going to find. That's nature. There's an old proverb in the Bible that says, teach your children in the way they should go, and they will walk in it. That works both ways. If you want them to walk in the good paths, you teach them and you show them by example what the good paths are. If you want them to walk in the bad paths, if you want them to walk in evil, walk in the bad paths and walk in evil, and they will follow after that. You see, that's the way it is. So you guys, you parents up there who didn't provide the correct example and didn't discipline your children, don't wonder at the age of 28, when they've left home and they've committed a bunch of robberies and they've murdered somebody and they stole a car and they were in hot pursuit by the police and ended up in jail. Don't wonder why they got there. Don't wonder how they got there. It was because of you, okay? And don't go bail them out. Because now it's the criminal justice system's problem. You had your chance. So when they get out, you better hope they're able to fix it. Okay, and the way the criminal justice system is working today, they put them on probation for 5 years, and then if they make any kind of a mistake or the probation officer doesn't like them, they're going back to jail. Okay? That's if they ever have probation come up. That's if they live after they've been admitted to jail. Okay? So, look, parents, it's absolutely imperative. You've got to raise your kids right. You've got to provide the correct example. You've got to walk in the right paths so that your children will know to make the right decisions by the decisions that you've made. Okay? Don't be like Hunter Biden. Don't be like Joe Biden.